Hello, welcome to our new weekly session of Practical Awakening with I and Anjali. Today, what is thinking really about? Hello, Anjali, how are you?
Hi, Di. I just want to remind all our viewers out there, if you're liking this video, if you give us a thumbs up below, it really helps us to reach other seekers who are looking. And if you also have any inclination to do so, we're happy to accept donations to be put to the use of this channel. And so back to you, Di.
Thank you. Let's start as usual, get ourselves a little bit primed, getting a little bit deeper into the space, leaving behind us whatever might bother us at this present time, whatever we're engaging with in this present time. We can close our eyes, we can leave our eyes open, and we find our breath and the mantra. Becoming still. Spread out. There is expansion through the chest area and everywhere. There is stillness. There is complete peace. Everywhere. And that's how it is. Naturally. That's where it all comes from. Out of this space and stillness. And goes back into this space and stillness. And out of this stillness, we are contemplating, thinking, nature of thinking. What is thinking really about? Is it in sync with this natural stillness? And moving back to the surface, slowly, not all the way, but enough to engage in today's topic, but still keeping a toe in the stillness, not letting it go completely. Thinking. It's something that we find ourselves defined by as human beings, thinking. And there are certain concepts or so called truths about thinking that we swallow completely while growing up. Not that there is much talk about thinking as a process while growing up, but everybody sort of understands, so called understands, certain things about thinking, being a thinker, being a deep thinker, being an original thinker. Thinking, 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 thinking. The more you think, the more value you have in a way in this human world. Now, Angie, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you, like, thinking. What is your take on thinking?
Gosh, I feel like I'm just an accumulation of thoughts that I've identified with. I've been told to identify with at an early age, and that's kind of the learning process. And in order to be smarter, we have to identify and gather more of this accumulation. So there's, layer upon layer upon layer of stuff, thoughts, and none of them are real. And now I'm being asked, well, since I met my teacher and now you, being asked to scrape some of that away and then just get down back to where there's just silence. There's no identification. And I find that
Is it
interesting in terms of thoughts. Just one other thing, Di, what I've been working on this week especially is I was taught at an early age also to identify positive and negative thinking. But now, like, it's all a thought, a positive thought and a negative thought. They're still thoughts. There's no difference. So, like, just finding a way to work with that and to sit with it, coming back to the breath. I don't even need to layer the thought up with deciding whether it's positive or negative or, whatever that is. It just is. It's a thought, nothing more, just a thought.
That's a beautiful approach. That's a very efficient approach, and that's how it is. It's just a thought. And all the charge is in identification, not in the thought itself. It's just a thought.
Right.
And how is it going? Is it hard going? Is it slow going? Is it something that you have to like push uphill, or is it something that gets easier with time? Or
I think I'm still waiting for it to hit that nice, what we call, when I was used to be a runner, we call it a runner's high, when you just hit a pace after the first half mile and you can just run forever. You're hardly breathing. It feels like you're not panting, you're not doing anything. So I'm waiting for that sort of runner's high to kick in here with the the identification with thoughts, because I am like back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Um, and when I hit a really juicy one that's taken me really far downstream, that stays with me for less time. I'm able to identify it sooner, but it's still quite a ways downstream if it's a really hot, juicy, you know, thing that I've been hanging on to for a while.
yeah. And your space, do you feel that, in establishing the space, obviously you are practicing number one while you're sitting with the eyes closed,
Mhm.
establishing the space, then you're able to maybe sit and open the eyes, still establish the space, and then you're able to maybe move a bit with it, establishing the space, but maybe a little bit less. Like the more we establish the space, the more established we are inside the space, inside the stillness, the easier it is with time to sort of not move, not
Right.
attach to the thoughts. So you are going through all these different phases of establishing the
I, I
space.
find it I find it easier to do at home, honestly. I mean, the honest truth. When I go out shopping or big box stores, there's like a certain amount of frenzy, which I can sort of stay within myself in that space. Um, I had a really interesting experience actually just 2 days ago. I went shopping, and I do shopping for my mom and other people. And so I was there, but I had to wait in this long line for the customer service desk. There was some issue, but I was standing there. And the woman left behind the counter. She's like, "Oh, sorry, I gotta help someone else." She totally like went AWOL. So I'm standing there with two people in front of me, and I just stopped. Like I just stood there. I did not move. Like there was no physical movement, no, except for blinking. And I just stood there for 5 minutes, and there was such stillness that just opened up. It was stunning. The whole store is buzzing. Ambient awareness will tell you like everything is lit. Everyone's, in the holiday like frenzy, and yet like there's this one still point that I'm holding. And it was amazing. I'd never stood still in a big store like that before. I mean, yeah, you wait in line, but you're fidgeting or you're moving or itching or whatever, but totally physically still in my body, and the mind just like came right to a point. It was awesome.
Beautiful. You're establishing the space. You're establishing the space. These are all the signs that the space is getting established more and more. So you can transition, from your sitting in a certain room, in a home, in a certain position to other places, other positions, other. That's what is called progress.
Well, I'm trying not to
It's
attach to
good
that.
not
I
to
was way
label
too
these things.
attached to that. Yeah, I don't want to
It's
label it.
good not to label these things. It's good not to label
Mm.
these things. Just how you just put it now. It's something that happens. It's something that you know,
All I labeled it
and
was
it's
that it was an experience I had not had before in that big of a setting, with that much noise, those many people standing in my very close proximity, and I mean, really, you could almost feel the energy in the store. It's just like, the Christmas music's going and everything's just like
yeah.
it's nuts.
But it can give you heart, that your space is getting more and more established. That you're actually,
It just seems so easy. That's what was
moving in. It is
stunning.
easy. It
It
is
was like,
easy.
why hadn't I
It's
seen this
power.
before? Why had I never taken the time to stand still for like even like 3 minutes? I mean, it was probably like 6 or 7. I looked at the big clock on the wall, and then I zoned out. I thought, we're going to be here a while. She just went AWOL on the customer service desk, and there's no one else. So, why get hot and
Because we're
bothered?
not, Angie. We're not brought up that way. We're not instructed while growing up while that way. We're instructed the opposite way. We're instructed always to focus on what is on the outside and gel with what is on the outside. And we are not, at least the most majority of us. I mean, there are some in some parts of the world that maybe in a different environment. The majority of us, we're just not brought up that way. And then the whole education goes in the
Mm,
opposite way to
right.
engage with the thoughts, identify with the thoughts, accumulate thoughts. Everything is about that. And is actually a big value is put on it. People who accumulate more, Angie,
Mm,
they're considered as of bigger value because they have
mhm.
more of this accumulation, more of attachment, more of engagement with the thoughts non-stop, 24/7. You see, it's just a real opposite, like in the extreme. And the value is put on it. The value is not put on the people who can sit still or who can turn inwards and who can sort of contemplate things without attachment and who are not particularly bothered about this physical world and accumulation in the physical world.
Mm,
These people are usually in this physical environment that we live in. There is much less value put on those people, much less.
yeah.
They don't accumulate as much, they don't engage as much in this physical world. They don't have that much to show for themselves in a way of
Mhm,
accumulation or speech or whatever else. You see what I mean? And that's how it all
mhm.
goes. The people who run the world are the ones who are all out, all attachment, all accumulation. And then there are those humble people who are somewhere
Right?
not very Not very valued, not very valued in this world. But look, hopefully, the pendulum will swing the other way, and it's slowly moving anyway.
Can you
I
say
think
some
more and more
things?
people.
Yeah.
Please.
Can you say some things? We had talked a little bit before we started the live program here, but I guess if you could say something about in that space of not having an I, how does thinking operate? I mean, do you
Yes,
have to you have to think, in other words, my understanding is that you have to think about some things sometimes, but you can limit those to a certain window of when you need to think, or is that totally incorrect?
probably. Yes. Look, Angie, I will just try and be a bit exact, okay? Specific.
Yeah.
So when you awaken to a certain extent, and I will say awaken, which means that yourself is gone, that there is no attachment to the thoughts. That does not mean at all, that the thoughts are not there, okay? At all. What it means is that when we are moving around in this physical level, engaging with the physical world, the thoughts are there, the mental concepts are always there because this world is made of mental concepts. There is no way that they're not there, okay? They're always there. And they're moving, and they're moving. They're appearing and disappearing momentarily, all the time. But we are still. We are not moving. We are staying with the space, turned inwards. Our senses notice everything. There are mental concepts, there are sounds, there is everything is there. Nothing is missing. The thoughts are coming through, blink, 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 in and out. We notice those thoughts. We know what those thoughts are about, okay? But we're not moving with them. There is no identification with the thoughts at all. We're staying still. And when there is something that needs to be gone deeper into, to contemplate, we contemplate the topic inside the stillness, not moving with the thoughts. But the thoughts are there, Angie, the thoughts are there. Then we can choose to go a little bit deeper with the breath and the mantra, or just naturally. And then there will be less thoughts, and then we will come into the depth where there are no thoughts at all. But on the surface level, when doing things in everyday world, when moving around, when not going deeper intentionally, there are thoughts all the time. Senses bring in the pictures of everything all the time, and the thoughts are there. But there is stillness. The focus is inwards, not outwards. You see, when growing up, we're always instructed to focus outwards and to gel with the thoughts. So we're always moving with the thoughts. And then we're trying to store everything. We're trying to hang on to it too, which
Mm.
we're instructed to do too. The more we hang on to, the more we sort of store, the more we sort of gelled, and then,
Mm.
hang on to, don't let go, don't let go, don't forget, you know. But actually the focus needs to stay inwards with the stillness. And then everything else is moving, but the focus is with the stillness. That's why it's fair to say that everything on a physical level is always moving, it's fluctuating all the time, coming and going all the time. But the stillness is there. We don't need to move with it. We are still. The stillness is there. So it's just like that. It's not like one day it's just wow. I mean, there are no thoughts. No, it's not like that. One day it's just wow. There is no me. There is no reference point. The thoughts are coming and going, but nothing is staying.
Mm,
As you say, the thought is just a thought. It's not a plus. It's not a minus. It's not a zero. You know what I mean? It's just a thought.
mm,
Blink, 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 blink. Comes in, goes out. We're all partaking in the same space, which is made of mental concepts. And what we do is we engage with these mental concepts, most of us. And that is so called human nature, which doesn't need to be like that, but that's how it is for most of us. There is no action, Angie, on our part in creating a thought or being a thinker or, you know what I mean?
mm,
That's something that's completely misunderstood. We have this so called, what would you say, culture or history of the world made up of these people who are supposedly thinkers, who are this, who are that, who create these original thoughts, who are nothing like that. There is nothing like that whatsoever. There is this space that we all share. The same space, Angie. This human world, we all share the space. And this space is made of mental concepts. And we attach to them and we experience them as physical, completely, like in the dream, the same as physical.
mm,
And that is that. And that is that. It's very simple. Angie, it is so very simple. I understand that when we don't know, Angie, okay? I mean, someone can tell you it's so very simple, it doesn't mean anything. I just want to say that when the shift occurs, it's just something that is you need a little bit of time to realize what has happened, okay?
yeah.
Because the environment doesn't change. The senses still bring in the same things, the same pictures, the same sounds, the same. But we are not moving. This is the change. We are not moving. And because we are not attaching to the thoughts, there is no I, there is no reference to the self. So everything is fine, Angie. Everything is good. Everything is just the way it is, perfectly fine. Because there is no reference point. There is no good thought or bad thought or indifferent
Right.
thought, or it's just how it is. And there is stillness. And it's complete peace in this stillness and balance. And that's all. Nothing else has changed, Angie. Everything else is the same. But there is no coloring to it. There is no commentary. This is, I don't like, this is, it's not good. This should be different. This was like that, but now it's like that. What will be? None of that. All these thoughts are just passing
Mm,
through. Really, there is no effect on anything. And peace is in staying with the stillness. That's where the peace is, staying with the stillness, not moving with the thoughts. And you see, Angie, in a way, it's very subtle. This change in a way is very subtle. On the other hand, it's monumental.
right.
You know what I mean?
Mm. So, do you have to let go? I don't know how I frame this. You were talking about just sort of the thoughts come, blink, blink, blink. You're not, they're just kind of blowing by you because you're not attached to them. And I've been working more with what you've been telling me of just sitting as the thoughts come through, just watching them, witnessing them, just sitting with the charged thoughts, whatever. But it occurs to me, is there not some sort of like deconstruction process? That's maybe the wrong word, but to begin to accept what is. I mean, you have to sort of like, okay, let me get an example here of anything, something. Um, so let's just stick with the holidays, Christmas. I mean, it used to be a big thing for my family. So there's attachments to that about gift giving, about all the sorts of things, the layers, the traditions, yada, yada, yada. So all the things that are connected to that Christmas like thing fire off kind of a charged thinking in my head. So I hear Christmas music on the in the store or something that used to fire off some kind of a, you know, kind of a little bit of joy and spark the holiday tradition. Now it just is like there's that song. It's like a nothing. I don't know if I'm but
Yeah,
I'm saying
of course.
is there not a like a deconstruction process which happens? I don't know if it was done intentionally on my part or if it just happened because I'm just watching
Just
thoughts.
you just have not identified with that particular mental concept of that song, you know. That's all. You stood still, and that mental concepts just passed by without identification.
So
It's
that
not
used to
that you
bring
don't
me
hear it.
right. It used to bring me joy to hear that song or to hear whatever or that sort of thing, but I now I find that things in my life are getting kind of stripped away or they're falling away or something, and the joy is kind of going with that. But maybe that was more
You know what?
excitement. I don't know what maybe it's not like joy, maybe
It's
it was excitement.
excitement. It's an excitement that comes and goes, and as you know, comes with a certain things that come at a certain time and then goes away. And with these, as people know, it goes away more and more because it's just more and more a repetition of the same thing again and again and again. And even the
Mm,
excitement sort of fades a little bit away with the ease, if we're completely honest. You know, being 50 or 60 or being five, it's probably the
right.
level of excitement.
Right.
But let me point this one thing out, you know, when we're completely with the stillness, as you know, when you sit, Angie, when we are completely with the stillness, we're so full of peace and well-being
Mm,
and that we don't need that particular joy. We don't need that particular spike that then comes down. There
right.
isn't this going up and
Mm.
coming down, these oscillations. We're just always steady. And and the level at which we are steady is just really completely peaceful, completely almost bliss, Angie, as you know, when you sit and you go in and it's almost like a completely sort of such at ease, blissful sort of a state of being or whatever it is.
Mine is like a
And when you're
quiet
there all the
peace.
yeah, yeah, it's just everything is just completely okay, you know.
Mm,
And you can still take part in all these, you know, Angie. I mean, like I will give an example of my personal situation. Like my son and me decided a long time ago that we are going to pass all this stop this, you know, present giving and this and that, and
mm,
we always get together for lunch as a family, and we don't have any other family in Australia, but and we spend time together and we really fully enjoy that because we don't live at the same place and all that, but every day, every year at Christmas we get together, we make a lovely lunch and we sit together and we spend some time
mm.
together. And that's for us is Christmas. We don't do any more of that decorations and gift giving and whatever. But Angie, if I do have if not me, if my son has kids one day, to have grandkids, then we'll probably get into this thing, you know, because
Mm,
it's something for the kids, you know, it's some sort of a occasion that's, you know. But at the same time, we won't make it as big as it is probably in but you know, an occasion. That's what I mean. You can do whatever, but your attachment is not there. It's just, you know, something that people do and you can do and it's perfectly fine. You know, whether you do give gifts and buy gifts and do decorations or not, it's all perfectly fine, aren't you? Either way. You know what I mean? Either way, it's just
right,
perfectly okay. It's just, you know, some people go with that, some people go with that, depending on environment, depending on, you know, as I said, the age of the family members, you know, like
right. Assuming it can be done without attachment.
Oh yes, everything, Angie.
Mm,
Once that this non-attachment becomes a habit, everything can be done without attachment. Everything can be perceived without attachment. People are born, people die, people get ill, people get sick, people, you know,
mm,
everything. That is life. And it all comes and goes, and that's how it is. That's exactly how it is. And it's not a plus or it's not a minus, it's not a positive, it's not a negative, it's not indifferent, it's just how it is. And that's completely fine. Completely fine. The stillness, Angie, really does not get affected by the perceived movements, of the thoughts or mental concepts coming by, Or if it does, momentarily, because it takes a moment on a physical level for the thought to come and go, you know what I mean? In that
right.
split second, there could be a trace of something, but it goes so quickly, Angie, that it's just really, you cannot linger on it. But it really all starts with establishing the space, the focus within. You need to establish it. So you're establishing it with sitting and then with, opening eyes and then transferring this space into other times of the day and other sort of positions of the body movement. And then one day, Angie, one day, you're establishing as a habit, and one day it becomes automatic. And then you're not doing anything anymore. I'm not doing anything about it. Nothing.
Mm,
That's why you hear sometimes people say, people who are awake, or whatever you call it, with no self, they say things are getting done, but I'm not doing anything. Like they're staying with the stillness.
right. But you're doing stuff still. You're out in the world.
Absolutely, Angie. Absolutely. The body does whatever body needs to do. There is still the
Mm,
body, perceived body. There is still everything. We take care of it for nothing else to become enlightened. Well, because if you die,
but
then you
once,
just go into the next life
right.
cycle.
But once you're awake, what what's the like the motivation to do anything?
It's automatic. It's very hard to be in this life, aren't you, without doing anything because we're in this physical world. Number one, there are
Mm,
things that need to be done. Just because on a physical level, there are things that need to be done. It's as simple as that. So it would be almost impossible unless you're in some very, very secluded environment, like, let's say, going to some sort of monastery or I don't know what. But
right.
even there, even there, people do things. Their life,
Right.
the day is sort of structured in a certain way. They have certain duties that they perform, and then they have certain rituals that they perform, and so on and so on. You know what I mean? Like, it's very hard to be in this world without doing anything at all.
Mhm.
It's possible, but it's just the demands in the physical world where you have to feed the body, where you have to take care of that, where you have to take care of actually having food to feed the
Mm,
body, of having the roof over your head, of it's just, it's part of living in the physical world, isn't it? It's would be almost impossible to just completely, not do anything. And then, once you once you're with the spice and you, as we call it, enter the stream, like Everything goes with the stream. So wherever the stream takes you, like I have no choice. No, I don't make any choices. I don't have any preferences. I don't have any wishes to go anywhere, do anything much really. I can think of things, but I don't really care, to be honest. I can do it just for the sake of
Mm,
doing something, but I don't really care. But there is a stream. You're part of the stream. It takes you in a certain direction and you go with it. Some people like me make videos. I mean, why do you make videos? I mean, I could as well not make videos. It wouldn't make any difference to me, but it's part of the stream. Somehow, this is the way to go, you know?
mm.
Some people, you know, not every enlightened person makes videos. Some people do something else. Some people go on with their normal life automatically as before, no difference. It's just all part of the stream. You don't really know, Angie. You just don't really know which way you're going with the stream.
So you
But
don't
because all
feel,
is fine,
yeah, how do I word this? Don't you don't have any preferences and you don't have any desires, but don't you want to share this with other people, seekers? I mean, you are because you're making videos, but I mean,
yes.
isn't there a drive to do that or an internal, I don't know what the word is.
Yeah, I feel, Angie, that this is the stream. I'm part of the stream, and this is where the stream takes me. And this is how it is. And
Mm,
I'm completely fine with that, as I would be with anything else. You can call it an internal drive or whatever you call it, but it's not a conscious decision that I made.
right.
It's just something that's, as you call it, maybe that's a good expression, internal drive, just stream, part of the stream, you know. But it is not a decision like I say, oh, I decide now to make these videos once a week and not to stop till I whatever, you know. It's not like that at
Right.
all. Like if the stream takes me one day, if this internal drive is not there anymore, there will be no more videos.
Mm,
And I will not make a decision against it because I don't make any decisions like that. You know what I mean? Like I just go
right.
with the stream. If there is internal drive, it takes me there. If it isn't, it isn't. So I can't really tell you, Angie, if you ask me now,
Mm,
even next week or in a month or I don't know, will we be
mm,
making videos? I have no idea, Angie. Absolutely honestly, I have no idea. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. Maybe, I don't know. Whatever the stream takes us,
yeah.
And it's perfectly fine. It's just the way it needs to be. You see, this is it, Angie. It's just the
Mm.
way it needs to be. And I'm never bothered with why, you know what I mean? That is just completely useless, you know. That's if you're part of the stream, everything is in sync with the stream, which is the peace, the balance, the bliss even, just the full sort of well-being. And wherever that takes you, Angie, it's completely fine.
So while I'm not totally there and awake, for sure. So the best thing is for me to understand that I have decisions to make. Is that right? Even because I perceive myself to be an I.
I think, Angie, that the best thing for you is when you need to make a decision to try and sit with that thing, practice with that thing, to try and contemplate that thing, but not make that decision based on the moving thoughts.
Right.
I'll put it this way very simply, Angie. You said that thing, internal drive. Let's stay with this. I think that's a very good expression that you use. Internal, if we call the stream or whatever an internal drive, okay, which is very present when we are practicing, when we're sitting, when we're in a space, that internal
Mm.
drive is very present. It stays with us, it doesn't go away. So we rely on this internal drive and we try and do things from there. In life, when you go with things and with the internal drive, just some things just need to be done, Angie. I'm sure you were in a situations where that was just felt,
Sure.
not because it's good or bad or whatever, not because it's very logical or but just some things just need to be done. Okay, so you go with it, and then you're there, and then the things go from there. There is always there is always some development on a physical level, but you go with your internal drive as much as you possibly can, not with you know forward movement.
I guess in some ways it's
Like
all just a forum for practice. So the choices maybe don't,
everything I
or that
do,
it doesn't even matter
everything
what
in
the
your
choice
life.
is.
No, no. Everything in your life is like that. Everything. You
Mm.
see, like you were looking for jobs now, this, that, and now you are going to start a job, and it's just the thing that came up as this strong drive towards it, and that's it. That's it. We embrace it. We go with it.
Well, it's
We'll see where
actually
it
not
takes
a
us.
yeah, it's not even a job that I would have chosen, actually. I mean, it's
Exactly
so
right.
foreign to me now. That's what's so interesting. So here I find myself in this space, and I'm just using it as a space to practice a totally foreign space
Correct.
that I've never been in before, and I'm using it as a space to practice.
Correct. And you find yourself there. You see, it is a bit more of an internal drive than yes, this is logically or with thoughts, found as something that is the best for me or blah blah. Not like that. It's more like this is the internal drive. This is I'm going in this direction. I'm embracing it and I'm there. And then whatever happens there happens there. But we'll go with that.
Mm.
And it's the way it is. It is the only way, Angie, it can be. You find yourself there for countless reasons. It could not have been any other way. So you just go with it and you embrace it, and from there on you go wherever you go, Angie. Okay.
Mm.
It's the You will see it yourself. It's a certain peace. It's a lot of peace comes out of that.
I've seen part of it already. I mean, I'm not attached to the job. There's nothing about the job that inspires me or I get excited about going in the morning. I mean, there's nothing. There's no residue of any of that. I'm just going. I know how to do the functions they're asking, and that's it. I mean, it's pretty flatline, which is unusual because
Yeah.
all my other jobs, I've looked for like something exciting or something like internally aligned with what I love doing or, follow your dreams, chase your desires, all that stuff. And none of that for the first time. I have a job here that is not any of that.
No,
And I have,
no.
yeah.
It's not about the thoughts, Angie. It's about the internal drive. Okay.
Mm,
It's not about the thoughts. All this excitement and this and that and fantasies about what we
mm,
love and what is our whatever, I don't know, calling in this life or whatever it is or whatever it is not. It's attachment to the thoughts. But this is not attachment to the thoughts. This is just going with internal drive. And wherever it takes you, it's completely fine.
yes.
And wherever it goes, Angie, it's completely fine. There is a lot of things because we are so attached to the thinking as human beings. It's so encouraged to, you know, there are all these things as so-called aspirations, so-called this is my thing, or this is
Mhm.
so exciting, so overwhelming. And then people do get overwhelmed too. Let's make no mistake about that. And so on and so on. And you know what I mean? Like and this is Angie, what causes this up and down sort of thing.
Mm,
The fluctuations. Because a thought is a plus, then a thought is a minus, then a thought is a zero, then a thought is, it goes like that. And you can have different thoughts about the same thing, the same topic in one day, from plus to
yes.
minus to zero to. But you see, if you stay with the stillness at all times, there is no fluctuation, there is no up and down, it's just. completely the way it is, just fine.
Mm.
And all these concerns too fall away. A lot of concerns and worries falls away with it, because all this attachment and excitement, exhilaration, and then disappointment,
Sure.
and it's a mixed bag, isn't it? It's always a mixed bag. You can't go up and not come down. The
That's
higher you
right.
go, the lower then you come down. It's just how that is. And this is also recognizing the nature of moving with the thoughts. It's always like that. The bigger the peaks, the bigger the troughs, or whatever we call it, when you're at the bottom. And,
Right.
and you usually pass the middle. This is the thing, isn't it? You usually go through the middle and don't stop there. But you just go from this one down to that one. And you're somehow missing the middle. And the middle
I think
is the
it's
thing where,
I think
yeah,
it's boring. We're not taught to even look at that. It's not moving. It's a still space. So,
no, no,
we
it's
train our
nothing.
minds to think.
That's how we encourage to think about it. It's nothing. It's empty. It's boring. It's dull. We just need to look for excitement,
Right.
and then we'll have obviously this disappointment and whatever. But it doesn't matter. Then we go and look for another excitement, another spike, and then we'll have another
Right.
drop, and then we look for another spike. We never look for another middle because we don't even know the
Mm.
middle, Angie. Middle is something we're not even looking for, is it?
Right. I wonder if we had been trained at an earlier age to like find that space. I mean, it was always labeled kind of derogatorily in my family, like mediocrity, and you just don't want to sit in that still space for too long. You got to excel, you got to layer yourself up with a bunch of thoughts and accumulation, remember everything, spit it back to me, get smart. Um, so it's just interesting to watch all of that in relation to where I stand now with this job on a practical level, talking about thought. So much accumulation of thought. And it happened at such a young age as to, what do I aspire to do? You got to serve the world with your special gift or your skill or whatever. You got to find what that skill is. I mean, it all sounds like a bunch of bullshit now. Well,
Yeah, no, Angie, I couldn't agree more. I always say that, and I say it again because it's a good occasion. It's always a good occasion to say it again. The spiritual, the spiritual is the biggest gift, Angie, to anyone
mm,
to bring them closer to the spiritual. What shall we call it? Level, or to the space, or to the stillness, or the understanding of. That's the biggest gift to anyone, Angie. To anyone. That's the biggest service to humanity of anything you can possibly think of. If this world, the way we experience it now, and this world that would be if many more people would be spiritually awake, it's just would be no comparison, Angie, at all. At all.
I can imagine.
No comparison. But because this physical world is predominantly outwards focused and outward engaged and forward engaged, and it's just the way it is. Always going for this next spike and always gelling with this and that, and it's how everything goes. And the thing is this, Angie, the bottoms are deeper and deeper and deeper. I mean, it goes more and more to extremes, as you can probably notice. Like, even if you look at the world, like in the last few hundred years, it's going more and more into real extremes. Like
Yeah.
it's a lot of suffering. A lot of people suffer. You don't need to be hungry and to suffer.
Mm,
People suffer in many, many ways.
it's because of the
But
thoughts,
anyway, yeah,
which is back to our
correct,
topic,
correct.
attachment to
That's why I
thoughts.
just want to point that out when you say, to serve the world. This spiritual knowing or sharing of that is really precious, really precious.
I know that from you. I do.
But you can
You've
feel
given
it.
me so much.
You can feel it in your space too, Angie, and you will have a drive more and more, and you already have internal drive with the space. And
Mm,
if we're too old now, but if we were to have children again, we would probably bring them up a little bit differently because we already have a little bit more of understanding
mm.
of, we wouldn't instruct them this all outward sort of, we would instruct them from an early age to pay attention inward to find a bit of peace, find a bit of stillness and space.
I think young children are inclined that way already. If I had just left my son alone, he would have been probably much better off than me saying, like, let's learn this stuff. Here's some math. Here's this. Here's that. Um, let's name the
Spot on,
tree.
Angie.
Let's do this. I mean, if I
Spot
had just
on.
let him be,
Spot on.
but,
Children by
you know,
themselves from the space pick up a lot of things from the environment, Angie. And it's everything in the space already anyway.
mm,
So they would not grow up stupid or anything like that if we didn't instruct them that much. We probably just really.
but it was my fear as a homeschooling mom to like have him get behind or like, what was that going to look like if I didn't instruct him properly or if I didn't, expose him to XYZ before he was this age or, so it's all my
Of
own
course,
stuff, my baggage.
well, Angie, not just yours, but everyone's. I mean, to the people
Mm,
around us, the vast majority, as I say, those people who are different are not to be seen in this, are not seen much in this so-called physical world, Angie. You know that. They're
mm,
not accumulators, they're humble, they do not push themselves out in some big way, or you know what I mean? Like they don't
yeah.
achieve these goals in a way of. Look at our channel, Angie. Such a humble little channel that's got like a, genuinely, not that many viewers or anything else. But on the other hand, Angie, you see, the ones who are with us are with us.
Mm,
They actually do take certain
yeah,
steps in that direction and they do actually develop the space, the stillness. You know what I mean? You have channels who have
mm.
millions of subscribers, and a lot of people are sort of just somehow going through the motions.
They're voyeurs.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Mm,
Not to say that they are not useful, they are, but I just want to say that, I always feel that everyone who is with us, because we are such a small channel and we just attract certain people, not, you know what I mean? Like, that
mm,
there is obviously there is importance in that too. That every single person who is with us and stays with us for longer is traveling towards not traveling, but developing towards stillness and practicing, and you know what I mean?
mm.
Not just keeping it at a sort of a surface level.
Oh, we lost you for a minute. There you're back.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Not
But you
just,
are there, Angie, so
yeah.
that's all good. Even if I go, you are there. So
Even if we can't see you, you're still there. There are a few things.
please.
Uh, Awake and Abundant asks, can you enjoy Christmas songs without being attached to either the thought or the emotion? Can you enjoy Christmas songs without being attached to either the thought or the emotion?
You can. You can. There are certain songs that I can enjoy. Maybe not. I mean, I wasn't brought up in a spirit of Christmas because we were not that way inclined anyway as a family or broader society. But I have songs that I can enjoy very much today. The song starts and the song goes, and that's it. And I enjoyed it.
It doesn't bring up a well of like emotions from the past or like,
No, no. But it's still nice, you know.
hmm.
The melody is nice, the whatever is nice, the voice is nice, the whatever is. There is a resonance, but it comes and goes. It doesn't linger. It doesn't preoccupy you. You're not one with that. But it's still
So
nice. I've
it's
got
a
certain
sheer
songs that
present.
I
Yeah, it's like a just a sheer present moment, like
yes.
awareness of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the
From a
pleasures in that moment.
correct. Correct.
Okay.
From a moment to moment, you see, Angie, it goes from a moment to moment and in and out from the moment to moment, you know.
Mm,
And when there is no more song, there is no more that moment. It's all gone. As if it never was.
hmm. There's another question. Does meditation actually bring about enlightenment? Because I read Sri Ramana Maharshi's Who Am I? And he says that it only renders the mind quiet, but meditation is not a permanent thing. Is that what it? Yes. So the question is why does meditation actually bring about enlightenment?
There are different layers to this question. Now, as I always point out, I never meditated in my life. What I did and still do is practice non attachment to the thoughts with the breath and the mantra, identifying the space and staying with that space. I'm not familiar enough with Ramana Maharshi. I know who he is, but I was never sort of going deeper
Mm,
into his teachings to be able to comment on all that. But no, absolutely. I mean, if you ask me just like that off the cuff, absolutely not. You know, meditation is not definitely not something that's going to take you to enlightenment, but practice coupled with everything else, practice on everything that comes up in your life as it comes up. Use the practice for that. Do practical things in your life in sync with the stillness and the space. Yeah, practice is the way to go. Meditation. I never meditated and I can't see how just a meditation is a meditation.
I think some people use the word meditation. I just recently heard this in the same way that you're using it. You're just it's it's awareness of reality of what is present moment. Some people use it to mean other things, though.
You see, Angie, I would like to say this thing about a present moment. I was always very a bit sort of sassy about this thing, present moment, you know. When we are in the space and with the stillness, there is no present moment,
Mm,
Angie. There is just what is, okay? There is no future, there is no past, and there is no
right,
present because there is no past and no future. And there was
right.
this whole movement about pointing out the present moment, and then I forgot what it was, the expression, the mindfulness that was connected with this movement of being present, being completely. I just don't really, you know, I don't associate with that. And I don't like to associate my words with it either. Because stillness, because time, whether it's present or future or past, time is an aspect of a mental engagement, is an
Mm,
aspect of a thought. There
mm,
is no time outside the mental aspect.
mm,
And when we are with the stillness, there is no time, Angie. You know that.
right.
There is no time.
Mhm,
You might look at a time when you come out and say, "Oh, wow! I mean, can't believe it." You know, I was sort of outside the time for whatever
right.
the clock shows, but there is no time. So, I just want to say that I find it a bit sort of easier not to use this present moment, present, focus on present. I like not to use this. I don't use it in when I talk about these things. I don't think it's correct, Angie.
Mm, I can see
Do it
that.
make sense? Do it make sense?
Absolutely. I feel like all of language, though, is somehow tied into a temporal setting almost. Even the I is referenced in a temporal setting.
It
But when
is.
you're
It is, of
outside of
course,
that,
Angie.
then
There is no I, Angie, outside
right,
this time setting. There is no I.
right,
So when you say present, that present implies future and implies the
right,
past. There is no present outside the future or the past. There is present just to the reference.
right. That's yeah.
Present exists just as a reference to the future or the past. So I reckon
Mm,
we just, get rid of it altogether. I mean, get rid of it. What I mean is, we don't use it as a method in practice or what we focus on. I don't
right,
use it, and I recommend to people not to use it. It's misleading. It locks you in time again, because it's just a reference to
right.
time, to time.
It's well said.
And also with it, Angie, I noticed that when I was quickly scanning through this mindfulness thing, it's some time ago now, but with this present usually comes the real focus on things, really focus on what you're doing, really focus on something
Oh,
in your environment or something. I would scrap all that too. The focus is always inwards, on the space, in the space, in the stillness. That's where the focus is. These are the things that we notice anyway, automatically notice. Our senses, Angie, pick up automatically
mm.
environment. We don't need to focus on it to be picked up. It's picked up
Right.
automatically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I don't focus on it, it's not going to disappear. It's still there. So there is no need for that. Focus should be inwards, not outwards, you know. And I know now I contradict a lot of this mindfulness, but doesn't matter. That doesn't bother me. But I just want to say this, I would scrap that too completely. I think it's completely misleading
I think
because
from my
when
own experience that that might just be the baby step in like kindergarten or first grade that people have to learn. People who are so caught up in past future, they have no place to just dive in and settle inside. There's absolutely no reference point for that. I think this is how this. So I think mindfulness, in my understanding, is sort of that baby step to say, hey, look at what's right in front of you or whatever sense, use your sensory, like, smell, hearing, touch, taste, to see what's right in front of you, and then use that as the diving board to dive inward. But I don't know. I haven't done much of that, but I think
I
that's
get
where
you,
that all came from.
I get you, Angie. Yeah. You're completely right. But what I say instead is find the breath. Don't worry about
Right.
what's outside. Find the breath
Mhm.
and follow the breath. You can't go wrong. And
Mm.
stick with that. And stick with that. Because the breath will focus you on the breath. You just stay with the breath. You follow the breath. And you turn inwards automatically because the breath is sensed when you turn inwards, not when you turn outwards. Because, as I said before, and Angie, you say to yourself, the senses pick up everything that's outside anyway.
Mm.
Anyway, we are humans, so we have human senses, so they pick up everything. But what we want is turning inwards, and we do that with the breath. So I think that even those people who are just all over the place would just be instead instructed to just close your eyes at the start, find the breath, and you just go with the breath and you stick with it. And whenever you fall out, you go back to the breath and you practice that.
Yeah. I
But
don't
I
know.
understand your
Yeah.
point. I
When I
understand
was
your
teaching
point.
meditation, people could not reach that space where they could just follow the breath. I mean, their thinking is like brrrr. It's not like, bing, bing, like you were talking about your thoughts. There's this like brrrr, and it's hard to even, like, breathing, they feel like it's so automatic, like, and it's boring, they find. So it's hard for them to focus on any of that, I found. Now these are people maybe that are not on this channel, obviously. We're off.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
I get
we're
it
off and running.
completely. I get this completely. I get this completely. And yes, the breathing is automatic, Angie. That's why we need to just follow the breath and just find it
Mm,
because we're not even aware that we breathe. You see, we're not
right,
even aware that we breathe because it's automatic. But once we focus on it, we turn inwards because it's automatic. That is the point. That's why I always
right.
say do not make your breath this or that or whatever. Just find it and follow it. It's automatic. And
Mm,
self-discipline, people who can't focus, they just need to find some self-discipline, learn some self-discipline, which is like sticking with the breath, whatever the cost. But look, aren't you absolutely, whatever works for people, if you find that for some people it works better to start with focusing on something outside, absolutely, and then go with the breath or whichever way.
I have
I
to agree with
personally
you.
just
I mean, yeah, I
whichever
was
way.
taught to
I
turn internal.
personally,
Mm,
yeah, found it always easier, much easier for me personally to just
mhm.
find the breath.
Yep,
I found that focusing on some point outside, it was just somehow I could not focus as well as if I just stayed with the breath.
yep,
Because there was so much of this outside sort of impressions and sort of coming in with it, you know what I
mhm,
mean? That it was sort of, to me, I found it more difficult. Then when you
yep.
turn inwards, it's just nothing. And then there is just this breath, and it's so easy. It's just, you can't miss.
Mm,
But as you say, whatever is easier for whoever. There are many ways. But some ways are maybe quicker, simpler, easier to identify than,
right.
than some other ways. But
I just wanna say I love you so much.
same here, Angie. Same here. Like this, you and me can do this thing together now has given a whole new lease of life uh, to this channel. As I said many
Mm,
times, I would have really given up completely, and I have. And I was then obviously waiting for this person, and it appeared very quickly. Thank you, Angie. And it was you, and
it was
that
not
gave a
me.
new lease of life. That gave a new lease of life to this thing. Otherwise, it wouldn't be here.
Well, you can't keep talking to a camera, you're all by yourself, and it's gotta be a
It
like
just became a very sort of empty, mechanical sort of thing, which was not a way
mm,
to go. I never wanted to become mechanical.
yeah. Let me
Because
I
then,
think that's yeah, that's the last question. Sorry.
so we might wrap it all up, Angie.
Mm,
And I wanted to say this, before when we were talking about how small channel we are and all that, you know, every one of you who finds yourself on this channel, because it is such a small channel and so difficult to find in a way, especially you who actually stay with it for a while, you're really on the right track.
mm,
You're practicing, you are establishing yourself in the stillness. And there are countless reasons that you are here at this time in this space. You and not someone else. And you know what I mean? Like, as we said, there could be millions and millions of viewers on other channels, but you are here on this tiny little channel that is not easy to find or connect with, or so just rest in peace and get on with the practice,
mm.
each one of you. Anyway,
Is that a
bit of pep
frog?
talk. What's that?
Was that
These
a
are the
frog,
birds.
Anjali? Oh, the birds.
These are the birds. Yeah, these are the
Oh,
birds.
that's right. It's
They're
morning for you.
yeah, these are the birds. They're forever chirping around, and all these different, very different sort of, so many different ones. So you see a
Mm,
question to whether you can connect with like a Christmas song or a chirping of the birds and enjoy it. Absolutely. I enjoy all this. I enjoy all this.
mm,
As I can enjoy the Christmas song or whatever, some other song or, whatever is part of your resonance. I enjoy it. It comes and it goes and. But I'm not hooked on it. I'm not attached to it. When it's here, it's here. When
right.
it's not here, it's not here, as if it never was. There is no attachment. But we still enjoy things, absolutely. I enjoy many, many things. And that's why a reason too, Angie, why life is just okay. There are many things still to enjoy from the space, within the space. There are so many lovely things that come and go and appear and disappear, and a lot of enjoyment to be had inside this blissful state. So I want to connect that with that question and now connecting it with the birds and stuff. Yes, absolutely. There is enjoyment.
Mm,
But when it's gone, it's gone. There is no attachment. I'm not now waiting for another bird to sing. I've already forgotten that the bird was singing. You know what I mean? But I
right.
enjoyed it when I connected with it.
Beautifully
So
said.
don't have that fear. Some people have fear that everything is just going to be so boring and dull, and absolutely not. Absolutely not. There are enjoyments on the physical level, and there are insights on the inward level about everything. So no, no way. It's never dull. It's never boring. It's always full.
Mm,
And this is just from personal experience. Look, I don't know. Maybe there are other people who I might, I don't know. But I would say probably, more, Angie, you communicate with other people who are sort of in awakened spaces. They probably say the same,
mm,
is that it's always full. It's always full.
yeah. As it's not my direct experience yet, you know,
No, no,
they're,
no.
yeah. So it's, they're words and I hear them and I think I understand
Absolutely.
them, but I probably don't.
No, it's not important at all. It's just
Mm,
because some people have connect with this thought of fear, beforehand, that it's going to be that they're going to lose all this enjoyment, all these, whatever lovely things. You're not losing anything. You are just adding the depth,
mm,
and your enjoyment is even more because you have the depth to it. It's got a depth to it. You know what I mean? It's not just a surface thing, but it's a full on.
right.
Without attachment, which is really beautiful. But these are all stories, Angie. Now. Let's finish for
Mm.
today. we don't we don't need more stories. You will all
More
know.
thoughts.
You will all know. Let's go with that. You
Yeah.
do the steps and the rest will follow.
If you have questions or comments, I remind everyone, please leave them, in the comments section below and Di or I will respond.
Absolutely, at
Always a
any time.
pleasure.
It doesn't need to be now, later on, or tomorrow, and
Mm,
in a few weeks' time. There are always some.
yep.
There are always some videos. There are so many videos anyway. You can put a comment to any video at any time, and there is always Angie or me coming to respond to whatever.
Mm,
Okay, thank you, thank you.
thank you so much.
This channel would be nothing without you. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Angie.
This channel would be
And we'll
nothing
see you
without our
soon.
viewers.
That's what I mean. You,
Yeah.
the viewers, nothing.
Mm,
You make it, and Angie and me just serve. And we are so happy to serve.
we are.
See you next time.
Mm, bye.
Take care.